everybody, CW here. All right, just a quick video. This is my Savage 110 cheapy Walmart gun, blind magazine. You've seen it a couple times. I did bunch of videos on pillar bedding this and glass bedding it, and when we got this stock, and just revisiting it because I picked up a new scope. I know, big surprise. And I was doing some swapping, and this one might have been on the table for some swapping, but I decided not to. This scope, although I don't think it's perfect here, it's working. And if you haven't seen it, action lengths and scope mounts are sometimes a pretty big deal, pretty daunting. Everybody wants to worry about, or a lot of people want to worry about the gap here and want to get your scope as low as you can for ergonomics and just feel, nice and tight and in there. And, other people are out there, flapping their gums about FUD lore and nonsense like that. That's a term I really despise to hear because I just don't like it. But be it as it may, I prefer my scopes down low on the gun because it gets everything in nice and tight. I feel good. I feel secure. That's how I learned. That's how I shoot. I don't want to be up, craning my neck up off the stock so I'm insecure and wobbling around. No. You can alleviate some of that with these adjustable combs in your stock so you can get that back. But I still like to have my scope as low as I can. Back when I built this, I put this rail on. This is an EGW. It's an MOA base. I don't remember what it is. I don't think it's much. I want to say it's 10. It's not much. It's not much. I didn't really care about that. It's only really the MOA bases. If you don't know what they are, basically they raise the back of your scope ring, but keeping everything in line so you don't have any binding issues. And what it does is when you adjust your scope, internals of your scope, you're from the center down. Everything inside the scope is opposite, so it's up, but I don't want to confuse you with that. So just consider from the middle center of your optic, the horizontal line, down. Because if you're shooting farther, what are you going to do? You're going to raise the crosshairs up so that your impact point is down, because your bullet goes down. It comes out of the barrel and it drops. So you're going to raise higher. So when you sight your scope in and use your scope, the only part of your scope that's ever used, the only metering part or adjustment part, is from the middle down. Well, let's say you've got 100 inches. You don't, but let's just say you got 100 inches to adjust. You're only using 50. That other 50 is wasted. What an MOA base does for you is it allows you to use that upper half of your optic that's lost, the adjustment that's lost, giving you much greater to move down, to get elevation, to shoot farther away, to have your bullets impact on target within the range of your adjustment of your elevation. That's what it does for you. So do you need it? No. Does it hurt anything? No. Does it help? Sure. If you don't need it, you're not gonna know any different. So if you got to buy a base and you're thinking you might shoot long range, go with a 20, 30 MOA base. It's going to gain you 20 or 30 MOA. It's going to steal it from the top of your adjustment range from elevation where it's never used. So it's really a free bonus that you bought and paid for with your scope that you'll never utilize. So there's a tip for you. It's not what this video is about, but if you're going to buy a base for your gun anyway, and you have the option to get a MOA increased base, and there's a possibility that you're going to shoot that at longer range. Now, longer range is relative, longer range for caliber. So longer range with a 22 rimfire might be a couple hundred yards. That'll be a benefit. Longer range for a 243 like this, or a 6mm, 7mm, yada, 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 might be 500 or 1,000 yards. It's going to benefit you. I'm going the opposite way. This is a 243. It could reach out, but it never will for me. It's going to be a couple 100-yard gun at most, 200, 300, 400 yards. And the adjustments that are in here are going to be fine. You do pick up some just going to 30mm, You pick up some, adjustment range just because of a larger tube for the same reasons. More adjustment size means more adjustment movement, means more range, keeping the reticle adjustment in the scope, not having to hold over the animal, so to speak. But what it gets me is tall, and I don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. So I picked up these. These are excellent Burris steel, extreme tactical steel bases. And what these do is they give you a little bit of adjustment because they're longer. So you can spin this front one around to hang over the back or hang over the front. If you notice where my ring is here, it's a little bit back over the adjustment. So the screws are here and here. My ring is back here. This is going to allow me to do the same thing and put the ring back here. And this one here is a little bit longer. You can spin it whichever way you need, but I'm going to spin it forward, which again here, if you notice, it screws here and here. The ring is on the forward side. And that's because most of our scopes today are on the shorter side. Go on to the days of the really long scopes. Everything is shorter, more compact. Largely because most people are going to the larger diameters, and most people are buying them for AR style guns where you have a pick rail or a flat rail where you can put your rings anywhere you want. Again, back to this beginning, the downside is they're a little bit taller for room to get in here into your magazine. If you're a magazine fed like this one, you need all the room you can get because this feeds from the top. It's a blind magazine. There's nothing down there. So, yeah, two ways to combat that. One is not to have anything here, which you give up a little bit of rigidity. This does make for a little stiffer action. You may think this is all steel. What do you mean stiff, CW? This ain't going to move. Well, it does a little. And anything you can do to stiffen this up, like with a one-piece rail, is going to stiffen that action up a little, and stiffer action is going to be a little more accurate. But I'm going to go with these. See, they're thin. They're going to allow me to pick up all that distance. Well, pretty much all that distance, because the thickness here, let me open these up so you can see one. The thickness here is pretty much, well, there's a little bit there. So I'm going to gain half of that. Where are we there? Let me focus that down in there. I'm going to gain half of that distance back because this here is thinner. And this being all steel, it's a little more rigid than aluminum. All right, let me put you on pause, pull this scope off, get these rings on, and come back. Again, I don't want anybody to get hurt, and because of YouTube's requirements, we cannot show you how to change this scope on video. But I think everybody knows how to do it. We got 2 screws in the front, 2 screws in the back. We're going to use a thread locker. I use red or blue. Scope bases generally are not something you remove, so red is okay with me. But definitely use a thread locker. I got blue here handy. This is red, actually. I got red here handy. I got blue here on the bench as well. So I'll just use some thread locker. We'll get these cleaned out, the thread holes. These screws are new and clean. I'll just spray them off to make sure there's no oil on them from shipping. And we'll attach everything together, and I'll come back before I put the scope on just to show you the rail. Maybe I'll show you the rail before I pull the rail off. I'll get the scope out of the way, and then I'll show you again when I come back with these new bases on. So stand by. Okay, that was pretty easy. Just 2 bolts. These are Burris, really good rings. They've got a ring inside that allows them to spin around and adjust for inconsistencies into tube, in the scope tube. So they're really, really nice, really nice rings. Don't have to pull them off. They should line back up, but we may have to adjust, but we'll see that in a minute. So here we go. We're going to take off this one-piece base, and we're going to replace it. Here's the front. The front is round, and here's the back. The back is flat. We're going to replace both of those. Something just about like that. Screw them back on. That should get us what we want, what we need. Hopefully we have enough adjustment. I don't have to adjust the scope too much, but we'll see. I can't get it back any farther. If you see where that scope ring is, it's all the way to the front as far as I want to bring it. Yeah, I could scooch it forward another 1/16 of an inch, but you start encroaching on the curves and the bends, and you can squeeze on things that you shouldn't be squeezing on. So I like to keep it back a good 1/16 of an inch from the transition of the tube. I have broken scopes before because I clamped them too close to the turret or too close to the end where the glass is. You can break the glass. On a straight tube scope, you can crack that glass if you're not careful. You want to abide by the manufacturer's recommendations on scopes, which are almost always 18-ish inch-pounds on these screws, scope ring screws. So we got this set here ready. Don't know if we're going to have to do it. I'll come back. Let's pull this off, put this on, and I'll be right back. Stand by. Okay, here we go. All mounted up. Much better looking, much cleaner, much lower to the gun. Make sure that your screw lengths are right. Remember my oops video? These go all the way through. This one here may go through on your gun, the front one. I mean the back one. The front one probably not. But this one almost always goes through the bridge. This is considered the bridge, the back of your action. So you want to make sure that there's no problem. Probably best to go the extra step. Now this is the Savage, so you got to pull the trigger and push that lever all at the same time to get your bolt out. Go in here and make sure, sticking my finger in there, making sure that it's not hanging down. And it's not. We're good. A little bit dirty, but we're not hanging down. Put our action back together, pull the trigger, push this lever down, slide our bolt back in. There we go. YouTube, this is not modification. I'm swapping a scope base. I'm not modifying anything that was on there. This is just a different style. This is not modification of any way. Okay, let's put the scope back on. Hopefully I won't have to adjust the spacing here. Hopefully it'll line up with what's here, but if it doesn't, you'll see when I come back. I can't show you. Got to keep you guys safe. Stand by. Okie dokie, here we go. Unfortunately, I did have to move the rear ring. But just a bit. I moved the level back, and then I had to loosen this up and move that. I just got to tighten that up, and then we're going to be good. If you notice the way these rings are, these rings pretty much clamp all the way down because they're on a plastic. They're on a piece of clamshell plastic in there that actually attaches to your body of your scope. So they're actually better on your scope. They give and they allow for movement. I can't remember the name of them. They're Burris, but they're Burris Premium. It escapes me. I should know it, but it escapes me. So let me tighten that back up and I'll come back. Stand by. We want about 18-ish inch-pounds. This is a fat wrench, Wheeler fat wrench. And there's our setting right there. You can read it. Just about 18 inch-pounds. We tighten these up and come right back. Stand by. All right, and there we are. Check that seems pretty loose, but let me check that. And again, remember, don't leave your torque wrench set on a setting. It goes all the way back down to the bottom. So it's going to be where it's going to work properly for you next time. And what we gained? Well, we gained about 1/4 of an inch. About 1/4 of an inch. We gained a load of room in here for loading and unloading cartridges. And I don't think we saved any weight, at least not appreciable. Yeah, this is a lot smaller than what we had. You know, a lot smaller than this one. But this is an aluminum alloy. These are steel. So it's negligible, the difference. Negligible. But we probably got a more solid mounting system, being that we have steel rings, steel base, where before we had an alloy base and steel rings. I got this mounted upside down because this has got a knob. This is a little bit old school. This is a Weaver. I forget what this one's called. It's a 3-12. It's a pretty nice scope, but it's getting older. It's got a mil dot etched glass reticle. It does have side focus, and it does have, you know, adjustable turrets, locking, pull them up, push them down. But it's got illumination knob back here, which is my least favorite place for one. Just, it's obtrusive. It's like a big zit back there. I just don't like it. But because of it, I can't see a level if it was up here where it normally is. So I've got it underneath. And this has got a pretty large, you know, ring for adjusting the power. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see it. So it is there. So this will have to be resighted in. It's probably not going to be far off. The front ring didn't change. We just lowered it down. So it's probably, it should be on the paper. It's just probably going to need to be a little bit of adjustments. So I would have liked to reset these because you can see they're off. But I'm not going to bother because I'm going to need to change it anyway. So I'll pull some 243s out. I should have plenty of them. If not, I'll get something loaded. This I keep set up with about 100 grain, 95 to 100 grain bullet for deer hunting. I've never used it. It was my father's, but I like to keep it set up and ready if I do want to use it, or if I had a need for, you know, for somebody to borrow it, it would be there and set and ready to go. I would set it up for lighter bullets, but I've got the 6 arc that I keep sighted in and set with 85 grain, so I can immediately switch to 87 grain varmint bullets, 85 grain, you know, deer bullets. So if I needed a varmint bullet, I could switch to the 87. I've already shot them side by side, and they're really pretty close. So I could just grab 85 or 87 grain ammo and go with that gun and be good to a couple 100 yards. If I went much farther than that, I'd want to sight in specific for the 87s. The 85s would be good. I keep it set about 1 inch high at 100. So I just have to look up my trajectory, spend a little time with it to know what that bullet's doing out there as the range gets out. But as I've said a million times, as much as I'd really love to try and start shooting out at distance to me meaning 400, 300, 400, 500 yards, 600 yards, 1,000 yards, I just don't have the places to go around here. And although I've been invited many times to go down in other places, I haven't yet done it. Maybe in the future, maybe coming up, I'll check that off the list. But there we go. I like it. I like it a lot better. It's not quite as low as I like it to be. But I could change out these rings and get it a little bit lower. But it's really not bad. Shouldering it, you know, it's really not bad. It's a little bit high for what I like, but it's not awful. And I'm glad that I was able to do it with the rings. I didn't have a slot here in the forward. That's why I had to move it. It was on just fine. But there's only 2 slots here where the front one has 3. If this one had 3 as well, I probably could have moved this ring forward and had it, or left it where it was and had it line up. But hey, whatever. It doesn't matter. It works. We're in a good position. Everything lines up really good. And I've got a better scope mounting system for what I like. So there we go. Just a quick video on swapping out one base to another, the reasons for it. One last thing I forget to mention that I like to always mention: when you screw your scope down, be sure you push it back. Push it. Leave these screws loose because there's a little bit of slop in a pick. Leave it loose and push it all the way to the back so that the rings, these are called your recoil stops. So these are pushed hard against the back of the pick grooves, because that's what recoil is going to do. Recoil's, the gun's going to come back. I'm sorry. Forward. You want it forward all the way, because recoil is going to come back. The scope's going to stay still, and it's going to want to slide it forward. If you set it up so it's loose in there, or if you set it back, the scope's going to want to migrate forward, and you're going to find your elevation change as that scope moves, because it doesn't have a recoil stop. You're relying on tension of the screws to be your recoil stop, and that's not positive. You want it hard against the front because you want it to be solid, no movement. Probably ain't going to be a big difference, but it's enough to, you know, pull your hair out a little bit if you're not. So push the scope all the way forward and then tighten these screws down. Here we go. God bless everybody. Hope you have a wonderful day. Keep those people in your life that you love, in the knowledge that you love them. Let them know. Today's a gift. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and yesterday's gone. God bless everybody. CW out.